Wow. Just wow. The Detroit Lions are one win away from going to the Super Bowl for the first time ever. Guys, it just hasn't sunk in for me yet. Like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time comprehending this game more than I was when we beat the Rams. This is a position that the Lions haven't been in since 1991. I was 3 years old. I was born in 1988. I was 3 years old. I wasn't old enough to comprehend football. This is a first for me. This is a first for a lot of us. The Detroit Lions are one win away from the Super Bowl. Like I just keep thinking that over and over in my head all night yesterday. We went to the game, me and my wife, a couple friends, and on the way home, we just kept thinking like, holy shit, this is something we have never seen. And a lot of us are experiencing that for the first time. It's real. It's real, guys. Like we are there. We got to fly to San Francisco. We got to go take care of business there. And then, these are the playoff games. No playoff game is easy. But what happened yesterday was absolutely insane. I have never seen Ford Field like that. All of the games I've been to, obviously, it was the last game of the season at Ford Field, regardless of what happened. It was an absolute madhouse in the right way. Hopefully, everyone was responsible. There wasn't that many Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans there, but hopefully, if you were a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan and you were at that game, hopefully you were treated the right way by us Detroit Lions. We try to, we need to set that mold and set that standard for being good fans, win or lose. Let's talk a little bit about the game, guys. Like I'm still just absolutely in disbelief. I'm just looking at the box score. Jared Goff had a hell of a game. We didn't run the ball as much as I thought we were going to. Leading carrier for the game, David Montgomery, 10 carries, 33 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 for 74 and a touchdown. Just an absolute, and I mean this in the best way possible, but for a long stretch of that game, it was an ugly, just fist fight type of game. Like something I don't think the Lions have really been in this year. It's just one of those, just we got to keep grinding type games. Like Tampa Bay just wouldn't go away. And first, I got to give a shout out to Tampa Bay. I like Baker Mayfield. He's an absolute dog. I think Tampa Bay needs to re-sign him. They need to keep him around. He's a locker room guy. He performs on the field. I have a lot of respect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but yesterday they were our enemy, but they just would not go away yesterday. Like they kept fighting. At no point did they get a lead, but they just kept hanging around, just kept being present. And that's probably a shout out to their coach too, for having them prepared and not letting them, just kind of fold, because there were some times where I thought the Lions were going to put them away, and we couldn't. They kept sticking around. So shout out to Tampa Bay. But it was just an ugly game. And I mean that in a good way. It was just a dogfight until like the very end when our offense kind of started clicking. When we went up 14, I thought, all right, that's it. Tampa Bay is probably going to fold. No, they came out, responded. They had like a 4th and 15 that they converted and eventually went on to score. And I was like, shit, man, these guys just will not die. This Tampa team just will not go away. And that's, shout out to the Lions because we were resilient enough to keep answering their answers. Like it was just a phenomenal football game all the way around. I seriously, when I say, excuse me, I cannot believe the Detroit Lions are one win away from the Super Bowl. I cannot believe it. Like I said, Jared Goff kind of started to get hot toward the end of the game. He really started to catch fire. St. Brown, 8 catches, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. Sam Laporta had 9 catches, man. He's back. His knee's looking good. He's still wearing that monster knee brace, I noticed, man. That thing's from like his thigh all the way down to his ankle. So hopefully that knee's okay. From the size of that brace, I'm slightly concerned. But Sam Laporta's back. He's looking good. Jahmyr Gibbs also had some nice catches for some first downs. He only had 4 for 40 yards, but he had some nice catches in times when we needed them. Defense, man. Let's talk about this defense because this defense was playing out of their minds yesterday. Brian Branch, absolute just dog. Absolute just game record, man. It seemed like every time we made a tackle on defense, Brian Branch, when he was on the field, was somewhere around the ball. 9 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Just absolute heat-seeking missile. Fatu Melifonwu had a nice game as well. 9 tackles, 1.5 sack. Aiden Hutchinson just keeps showing up on game days, man. Just keep showing up. 4 tackles, 1 sack. Like, he's getting hot at the absolute right time. He's obviously figured something out. These last 4 games he has 8 sacks. He's blowing up. He's turning into I don't want to use that elite word yet, but man, we are knocking on the door with Aiden Hutchinson. We are knocking on the door for him being an elite pass rusher in this league. Maybe next season, but right now, there's the elite guys. There's the Myles Garrett, the Bosas, the TJ Watt. There's those guys right underneath that. Hutch is coming to be in that group. He wants to sit at that table with those boys, and he's getting there. 8 sacks, 4 games. Absolute monster, man. This defense, listen, what I've noticed ever since the first Minnesota Vikings game, I'm not sure if it's the X's and O's. I'm not sure if it's the game plan. We're giving up yards to receivers. And I told you guys this in the pregame show. If you watch that and check that out, one of my keys for the game was going to be the matchup of Mike Evans and Cam Sutton. Mike Evans had a huge game, 8 catches, 147 yards, 1 touchdown. These big names receivers are getting open. They're getting catches. It's something we need to fix. Going forward, just a real quick preview. I know San Francisco has Deebo Samuel. They have George Kittle. They have some guys. One of them is probably going to have a big game. I'm curious to see who's going to get loose. But this defense of the Detroit Lions is just, we're going to bend, but we're not going to break. We're going to give you yards, and then we're going to tighten down the hatches. Once you get in that red zone, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting across that red zone. You can kick your field goal while we go score touchdowns. It seems like that's just been the mentality. I think there's been a lot of Aaron Glenn haters, man. And at one point this season, I was an Aaron Glenn hater. I'm guilty. I confess. But I've been vouching for this guy for the last 6 weeks. Like, we're giving up yards. I get it. We're giving up yards. It's ugly because we're so used to that fantasy football mindset. I've said this 1,000 times. We're used to that fantasy football mindset where we see receivers going nuts and getting all these yards, but that's fine. That's okay. In real NFL football, I don't give a shit. That's okay. You go have your yards. At the end of the game, they're not going to say, oh, who had the most yards? That's going to win the game. No, it's who has the most points. This Lions defense is locking. I don't want to use the word locking down. They are playing very, very good football on our side of the defensive field. Once the other team crosses the 50, it seems like that's kind of when we start to be like, okay, this is where we got to tighten up a little bit. This is where, we're going to give you another 10 yards, and then you're going to have to kick a field goal because we ain't giving you an end zone. We ain't giving you a touchdown. Aaron Glenn deserves some credit, man. The Buccaneers only scored 23 points. Baker Mayfield lit us up. He had a hell of a game. 26-41, we'll call it 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We're going to get to the interceptions. The first one, not really Baker's fault. Should have been caught by his receiver. We're just giving credit where credit's due. We'll take advantage of it. CJ Gardner-Johnson comes down with it. Baker Mayfield lit us up. But this defense of the Lions, I don't know. We're getting towards yardage-wise, but we're not giving up points. So I really don't give a shit. I'm really not that worried because we've seen it for 5 or 6 games in a row now. Let's talk about the absolute. There's 2 moments in this game for me where 2 players stepped up, and they are not quote unquote household names. You're probably thinking of like a Jahmyr Gibbs, a David Montgomery, a Jared Goff. Who stepped up? For me, giving the ball to Craig Reynolds on the goal line, 4th and 1 from the goal line, having that much faith in him to get it in the end zone. When everyone was expecting maybe a QB sneak or a pass, when you see Craig Reynolds coming in, he's not a guy who touches the ball a lot unless it's an emergency. That was one of the moments of the game for me where I said, holy shit, man. Like when I saw Reynolds come in and they were at the other, we stood in one end zone, they were down, the Lions were at the other end. So it was all the way at the other end. But I saw Reynolds come in. I said, uh-oh, this is looking like a QB sneak, and he's going to give him a push from behind or some type of pass play. And I was getting a little worried because, it's just kind of one of those times where Stevie P was getting a little worried. And they gave the ball to Craig Reynolds, and he got it in, man. And I thought that was one of the moments of the game. Second moment of the game, obviously another not a household name on defense, not Aiden Hutchinson, not CJ Gardner-Johnson, Derek Barnes sealing the game. When he got that interception, Ford Field, when I say Ford Field erupted, I would love to know what the decibels were on that play because that place was it was loud. It was a little, there's a little noise. I'm not going to say you could hear a pin drop. We were fired up. It was the last drive of the game. There was a little noise, but it was louder in other spots. But when he caught that ball, Ford Field, I thought the roof was going to blow off that place. Derek Barnes made a phenomenal play. And I think this was just another thing where Baker Mayfield made a good throw. It was going to be a completed pass. Derek Barnes just made a better move on the ball, came down with it, sealed the victory. And that was it. That was a wrap. Lastly, guys, I got to give a shout out to us fans. Us fans were in that game the entire time. Our section stood the whole time. We only sat for TV timeouts, halftime. Section 139 was absolutely rocking. I can vouch for all you guys, man. That place was an absolute zoo. Shout out to the fans for showing up. I'd love to see you guys back next season. It's going to be a wild season, man. It kind of sucks. Last home game. We don't get to go to Lions games anymore. I'm seeing if maybe we can get out to San Francisco if the wife will let me. You guys maybe hit that subscribe button. If she sees that I'm growing, maybe she'll say, "Hey, go out to San Francisco, do your thing, have a good trip." Maybe she's that kind of woman. She would let me if I could justify it. I might have to, sweeten her up a little bit, but hit that like button, guys. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you're feeling about the game. If you're at the game, leave anything you want. Everything is an open topic today. Leave whatever comment you want. We're going to talk about it. Hit that subscribe button, guys. We will be back later. We're going to get ready to start talking some San Francisco 49ers here real soon, guys. Hit that subscribe button for me. Greatly appreciate it. I'll be back later.